Hey guys, Metatrends Mark here. Today's video we're actually going to be talking about how B2C companies, meaning business to customer companies, can actually pivot and stay relevant for the next 15 years. There's an exercise that we do in my presentations that over 5,750 companies have participated so far with a combined revenue of I think it's $257 billion. What they've done is they've taken time as an aggregate to speculate, utilizing demographics, on which companies will thrive in the next 15 years, which industries will. If you are B2B, I did a video on it just recently, you can actually look that up, and how you can pivot in your strategies with outbound marketing and narrow-casted sales campaigns in order to stay relevant. The other thing is you need to do an audit. So B2C, B2B work a little differently. B2B is obviously business to business. B2C works differently because now you're business to consumer. You're actually selling products or services to the consumers. So that requires an audit also. It requires time spent with your brain trust, which is one of the reasons why I'm shooting this video today, is that many of my audience members are the CEOs or the CFOs of their companies, and they need help steering the ship in a slightly different direction in order to stay relevant, and that requires their brain trust. See, the way you actually make a company relevant for the next 15 years, it's like turning a battleship. It actually starts with the mental headspace of the CEO or the visionary in the company. Then it has to permeate all the employees. So I'm doing this video as an assist to that, as a companion to the presentations that I do. And if you're a new person coming in, you want to subscribe to the channel, we'll give you the ability to do that and look up the other videos. All right, so B2C, the best example I can give you is one that I worked with Martin Guitars. For those of you who don't know it, it's the oldest guitar manufacturer in the United States. They're considered the American Stradivarius. In fact, the last band I was in, two of the members, the two guitarists, both played Martin guitars. One played a Martin guitar that was worth around $10,000, bought in the 70s for about $2,000. The other one plays a brand new Martin guitar. Well, now this is a couple of years ago, but it was brand new then, for $8,000. Lots of filigree, beautiful guitar. So they are considered the best made guitars in the country. The challenge was that they knew their demographics were 48-year-old white American males, and the bad news I had for them was that we were decreasing in that magic age at the time, the next 14 years. So what ends up happening is that that means the market could move away from you. And one of the dirty secrets of being a CEO is sometimes the CEO isn't really owning the company. The company owns them. So when you are Christian Martin VI, you don't own Martin Guitars. Martin Guitars owns you. So what he recognized was he had to keep this company relevant in order to keep it in the family, and losing your key demographic for 14 years doesn't bode well for the next generation. So the way he worked it out was he had to pivot. And the first pivot he did was he reintroduced ukuleles into the product line. And that actually turns out to be the #1 selling instrument in the world. It also helped him open up the Japanese market, which is counter-cyclical, demographically speaking, to ourselves. The third pivot he did was he recognized that the single best compliment you can pay another company is to copy their strategy. So he copied some of the strategies from Harley-Davidson and what they did in order to engage their audiences. He figured, hey, we're chasing the exact same demographic and we don't compete. So he opened a museum. You could actually take a tour of the facility. You can even take a tour, which I thought was the greatest pivot he did. You can actually take a virtual tour while embracing technology, and he created YouTube videos of his luthiers. Those are fantastic craftsmen that actually make the acoustic instruments. All right, so let me recap here. So if you are B2C, you have to make sure that your product lines and your services are relevant for the near future. That requires a conversation, an uncomfortable conversation with your think tank at your company. And in that, you really want to be like the prosecuting attorney. And you want to listen for legal weasel words like maybe, sorta, mighta, kinda. Those type of words don't instill confidence and certainty about the future. So this is one of the ways that you can actually take the book and implement strategies in order to stay relevant going forward. The book is Meta Trends in the Next Economy. One of the best things you can do is turn to Chapter 7. And in Chapter 7, we talk about all the economies that will thrive in the relative near future, according to the CIA, which are going to be the strongest economies going forward. A little hint, hint, Mexico is going to be #1, although you won't read about it in the press that way. It'll look like it's tons of crime and drugs and things like that. So, back to it. Remember what Martin did. Stayed relevant. Reintroduces ukuleles into the product line, which actually ends up being the #1 selling instrument in the world. So you want to make sure that your product lines are relevant for the aging demographics or the younger 35-year-old millennials that there's going to be more of every minute of every day for the next 23 straight years. All right, the other thing is you want to pivot into countries. So if you're actually looking to expand your customer base, you want to pivot into countries that are going to thrive. And we talk about, Cole and I talk about the top 10 countries in the world to pivot into, Mexico being #1. Okay, then you also have to embrace technology. Because millennials and the I generation are sometimes referred to as the Generation Z. They are so technologically savvy compared to Generation X or old people like me, that they'll actually look to engage you quicker on a YouTube than it will on virtually anything else. So it's one of the ways that you can help them help you. And copy other companies that are actually thriving out there. Copy their strategies. It's the highest form of flattery. So remember the book, Meta Trends and the Next Economy. Make sure your brain trust reads it, watch these videos, and implement the strategies to stay relevant going forward. Thanks for watching. Happy hunting.